You are now onto our App of the Week segment. This is where we demonstrate an app showing you whether or not it has accessibility issues or not. Should you have an app that you would like us to feature on one of our episodes, feel free to send such an app to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And now, here's this episode's App of the Week.
Moving on to our next segment, App of the Week. Ed will demonstrate Gemini.
Hello everyone, in this App of the Week demonstration I'm going to show you the new Gemini app from Google, which is Google's artificial intelligence assistant based on the work they did with Google Bard. You may be familiar with some of the other services in this area like OpenAI's ChatGPT, which has started to be integrated into some of the blindness specific apps for things like scene description, giving you more pertinent information about a scanned document, etc. What I will say is, one, that Google Gemini is in the fairly early stages of its development, and two, all apps in this area are developing very quickly indeed. So you may well find that things have moved on or are very different when you come to try these apps, particularly if you found this demonstration a long time after I recorded it. I'm recording in mid-March 2024, just to give you a frame of reference. Currently, Gemini app is limited in availability. The US Play Store, along with sites like APK Mirror, are some of the places you can get it. It hasn't by any means rolled out to many Play Stores yet. So if it's not on your Play Store, that's why. You'll either need to sign up for a US Play Store account or go to a site like APK Mirror to pick it up, or obviously ask someone to send it to you on an email list, or someone you know who might have it. When you come to use Gemini on your phone, you will need to opt into it, replacing Google Assistant on your phone, which may sound fine, except that at time of recording, Gemini is much more limited than Google Assistant in terms of the tasks it can perform for you. So it can't, for instance, play music on Spotify yet, as the Assistant can. So if some of those Assistant features are important to you, you might want to hold off having Gemini act as your assistant. The problem is, though, that if you don't, you can't then use Gemini as an app on that device. You would have to use it via the website, either on your phone's browser, on your computer's browser, or have it act as the assistant on a phone perhaps that you're less bothered about. It is phone specific rather than account specific. You're not replacing the assistant on all your devices, just on the device you've chosen to put Gemini on. Let's go and have a look then. I'll open up Gemini.
Gemini, Google. Signed in as Edward Green. Good morning.
Okay, so you heard it start to tell me where we were signed in. That button is in the top right, as you would expect in Google Apps. It's where you'd find it, for instance, on the Play Store. And the Gemini screen, when you open it, if it's first use, it will ask you to agree to the various terms of service to have it replace the assistant that I've said. It'll tell you some things it can do to give you some hints to get started. And then you will have the screen that I'm on now. As I say, you have the button that shows you where you're signed in the top right, which lets you access settings. We'll go there in a minute. Towards the top of the screen, you have things that Gemini thinks you might want to ask it about. Towards the middle of the screen, you'll have your history with Gemini, showing you some of the most recent things you asked it. And then towards the bottom, you have an edit box where you can type. Below that, there are three buttons. There is a send button, which will be disabled if you haven't written anything. There'll be an image picker button in the middle that lets you share a photo with Gemini, and then towards the bottom left, there is a microphone button. So let's just have a quick look at those buttons.
Send button disabled.
Yeah, and then towards the middle,
image picker button,
and then
microphone button.
The image picker and the microphone buttons are very close together, so just watch that. I'll go to settings first, I think. Let's have a look at that in the top right.
Signed in as Edward Green. Account and settings. Close button.
I've double tapped that button to bring up the menu, and I'm going to locate settings.
Settings 1 of 3. Google page Gemini settings out of list. Back button. your public links. Control how you share chats and responses. 1 of 5. And list 5 items.
I'm not going to go into there. I don't particularly have any interest in sharing my chats or responses, but you can go and that will have things like link visibility in it if you want to check that out.
Languages for speaking to Gemini. 2 of 5.
Languages for speaking to Gemini. This is worth a look, particularly as I know we have many listeners whose first language is not English. I would show you what that supports, except for the fact that the TTS I use, Eloquence, does not support the reading of non-Latin scripts. So if it discovers a Cyrillic letter, a Chinese letter, an Arabic letter, a Japanese letter, you're not going to hear anything at all. It's not even going to attempt to make a guess in its Android implementation. So we would get a lot of silence if I showed you that, accepting the fact that the Latin script-based languages would read. But if you have text-to-speech for the language that you use, or indeed a text-to-speech that's using English but would make an effort to voice those non-Latin characters, you can go and have a look at that.
Quick phrases. Skip saying "Hey Google" for help with specific tasks. Powered by Google Assistant. 3 of 5.
That can be helpful. So instead of saying your Google wake word and then telling it what you want to do for certain customized things, you can shortcut all of that with a quick phrase. That's really assistant functionality rather than Gemini functionality, though. So I'm not going to have a look at that.
Screen context. Allow Gemini to capture information on your screen. 4 of 5.
That can be quite helpful because if you're looking at a website, say, and it sees that, then it can put its responses into context.
Gemini uses location to give you more relevant responses. To control if your device's location can be used, go to location settings for the Google app. 5 of 5.
So we could do that. Whether you want Gemini and other Google products to have access to your location is, I think, up to you. So that's all there is in settings. So I'll back out of that.
Back button. Page 2 of 3. Image picker button. Window Google. What's on your mind? Edit box.
So there's the edit box just above that middle image picker. So 3/4, 4/5 of the way down my screen, something like that. I'm gonna tap on this and ask it a question.
What's on your mind? Type, talk or share a photo. Screen away mode.
I'll ask Gemini how you make a spaghetti bolognese, and I'll close the keyboard.
Bolognese. How do you make a spaghetti bolognese? Edit box. Type, talk or share a photo. Keyboard hidden. Send button.
And because I closed the keyboard, the send button is in the bottom right. If I'd sent it directly from a keyboard, the send button would be above where the P would be on the virtual QWERTY keyboard. So I'll double as it is in most apps. So I'll double tap send.
How do you make a chat avatar icon? Page 2 of 3.
Now Gemini can be a little bit slow.
Page. How do you make a spaghetti bolognese?
Slower than Google Assistant. Now the response, because you still have a fairly cluttered screen now, it will have various buttons that allow you to share the response, but the response itself is likely to be in the middle of your screen towards the right. So I'm going to touch there and see if we can find it.
Page. How do you make a spaghetti bolognese? Ground beef or a mix of ground beef and pork. Add tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, tomato puree, or passata, red wine, optional, beef broth, herbs, bay leaves, thyme, and seasonings, salt, pepper, sugar, to the pot. Simmer for at least 30 minutes, or up to several hours for a richer flavor. Cook spaghetti according to package instructions. Serve the bolognese sauce over the cooked spaghetti and enjoy. Thumbs up button.
Well, that seemed pretty accurate to me. Now let's ask it about pulling people's cheeks. Is it okay to pull other people's cheeks?
Page 2 of 3.
Let's see if it's come up with a response.
Generally, it's not okay to pull other people's cheeks without their permission. It can be surprising and uncomfortable, especially for adults or people you don't know well. 1 of 2. And list 2 items. Here's a good rule of thumb. Only touch someone in a way you'd be happy with someone touching you. If you're unsure, it's always best to ask first. 2 of 2. Thumbs up button out of list.
So we can thumbs up it?
Thumbs down button.
I might thumbs down it. I don't agree, obviously, as regular listeners to the podcast will know.
Google it button. Share options button.
I could share it,
Copy button.
copy it.
Actions options button.
Let's see what our actions options are.
Pop-up window. Export the docs and list. Export the Gmail. Create public link. Modify response. Other drafts. Report legal issue.
One of the things that Gemini says it is good at when you first use it is writing papers or business plans or emails. So that export to docs and export to Gmail option for more serious uses of Gemini may well be things you want to explore. Well, that's a fairly brief introduction to Google Gemini.
Thanks for that demonstration, Ed, even though you're not here. Warren, you have a nickname for this Gemini, don't you?
I thought we should call it the Jimmy Boy or Jimmy Guy, or whatever. But see, frankly, so here's my disappointment, though. I mean, I like it, yet the assistant is more functional in more instances. For example, the one thing I don't like, and I don't know why Google didn't open that up. Ed didn't talk about this in his demo, but when it shows that result, there's a little icon there below the top right corner that says chat play or whatever. You tap on that, it will read that with the voice, assistant voice or whatever. Why didn't they just open that up like the assistant so that once it gets the result, it just verbalizes the result in as much as it's also showing it on the screen? I don't like that because I don't need to. The whole idea for me when I use the assistant is to be hands-free. You know what I mean? I could have it in my pocket, John, or I have my Bluetooth headset on, for example, and the thing is in my pocket, and I want to hear those results, you know, whether through the speaker of the phone or want to hear it on my headset. I don't need to touch my screen to hear what the result is. And why Google choose not to allow us hear the result verbalized is something I'm not happy about.
Warren, I want just to say that the first response is played back. So when you ask assistant something, you will hear the first response, and then, at least in my experience, for me, then when you say like ask another thing, you tap the microphone to ask another thing, it will not play the response. You should just touch the screen to read, or you should play press the play button.
Are you talking about the assistant or talking about Jimmy Boy?
Yeah, the assistant part of this created in a hurry Gemini.
Yeah, so in my experience, I had never, the only time that it will verbalize something for me is, for example, is if I ask it common things like, you know, weather or, you know, turn off the lights or, you know, turn on the lights. But if I were in the, if I say, you know, if I ask it something, it just displays the information and doesn't play it back. If I want to hear the playback, I have to tap on that, you know, chat playback icon.
The difference between us is that I don't use the Hey Google word. I just open the assistant with the gesture, which is actually like when people long press the home button, and I use the Joshua gesture to open the assistant. But I don't know if this should make a difference. But yeah, I don't use the detection word.
Yeah, so if you're coming from a situation where like other people that just look at the printed or the text response and not worry about the verbalization, then this is not going to bother you. But for someone like me that, you know, I have the device in my pocket and I just want to hear, I don't want to interact with the phone, frankly, I don't like what Jimmy Boy is doing.
I think it's safe to say that none of us have this installed on our phone because in order to have it even working, you have to let it take over Google Assistant. And like you mentioned, Warren, Google Assistant kind of breaks in some ways. You know, I use Google Assistant for different things. Like I'll just say to it, search for Galaxy S24 on Amazon, and it'll open the Amazon app having already done that specific search. Gemini does not do that sort of thing. And there's all kinds of other stuff that I've realized that I'm very dependent on that Gemini just can't do. So it's and even having it installed and set up on your device kind of makes it take over Google Assistant. If you go set Google Assistant back to the default assistant, then the Gemini app stops working. So, I mean, I have it saved to my home screen as a web app, so I can use the web version of Gemini, but I don't have Gemini actually installed on my phone. And I'm assuming you guys don't either. Is that correct?
No, I do have it. It's my default now. I've had it, for a while, ever since it came through. It's my default, and frankly, I don't like it, but I'm using it anyway. I'm getting used to it, how it works.
Okay.
But I just
It's
wish,
slower
there's
too,
not
isn't
clear
it?
back there.
It's
Huh?
slower than Google Assistant, isn't
Oh,
it?
it's very slow, no
Yeah.
question. Absolutely very slow. And so when you look at the assistant and you look at that, then it may be something that is not going to be pushing you to use Jimmy Boy, Gemini, because the response is slow. You can watch it in action. Actually, you watch those lines going through as it's, printing out, so to speak, the response and all of that. So it's very slow, and sometimes it kind of frustrates me. But of course, like we said earlier on, somewhere else, it's one of those things that we have to get used to. And I'm thinking, though, it's just the initial thing. I'm sure Google knows of these shortcomings, and they may optimize it or make it work better, because the thing is supposed to be, on the web, but now they're miniaturizing it to where we can use it on our phones. And right now, as we indicated, it's only on the Pixel phones. No wonder why that is. So we'll see what happens from here on if the Gemini Nano gets to other devices.
So I have Gemini installed on my phone since it became available. Uh, of course, from APK Mirror, because I can't install it from the Play Store. And actually, what I see about this Gemini thing is that it is an app that was created in a hurry. They created this just to respond to the competition. They didn't they didn't take the necessary time to make it like a good experience. They just wanted to say, hey, Microsoft is using the GPT thing. We are going to use this Gemini. Microsoft is creating Copilot. We are going to create Gemini. So this what Google had done, and I think this what made the experience bad experience. I can say it's just whenever you open this app, you feel that it's not something that was taking the appropriate the right time to be like baked to be developed to be made for the public. So I think they should work on the UI, and you shouldn't forget the problem that we were having with the accessibility when this app was released. It was for maybe 2 weeks or maybe more. The send button wasn't focusable with TalkBack. We Jisho users, we were able to circumvent this problem using uh, a special thing in Jisho itself, but it was a problem that shouldn't be happening from the first, actually. So yeah, and another thing is related to the assistant. I thought that it was optional and they were making it optional, but now you're telling me, and I heard from other people that currently you can't make it other than the default assistant, or you will not be able to use it. So if it's really lacking many features, why you should force people to have it as the assistant? It's something I can't actually I can't grasp. It's something I don't know what they are trying to do, because yeah, like many of the important features, like in addition to what John had indicated and to what you have said, Warren, like the read aloud feature, which was something nice in when you were able to read articles in Chrome, it's not available, and
Exactly.
many other features. So why to force people to use this assistant thing? I mean, just take your time and create something that is really useful instead of
Yeah.
making this and yeah, and appearing like, okay, you are not you're just responding to the competition, nothing else. And actually Gemini itself, is also having issues. Like if you try to ask it something, I said, hey, compare my A71 to the recently released A55. And look what it said. It said that A71 is much better in most aspects, and it was giving many false
Oh
information
my
about
gosh.
the
This phone that is 4
A55.
years older than this phone is much better.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. Google likes to have some good relations with me, some good relations with me, it seems, or something.
Well, it could be that. Well, what processor is the A71 running? You remember, Karen?
Yeah, it's the Snapdragon 730.
And the A55 is running. Is it an Exynos
The
chip?
new Exynos, yeah, to
Like,
2480.
okay, 2480. Well, they
No. They gave so much like wrong
yeah,
information,
exactly.
like okay, Copilot didn't do it right as well, but Copilot was like, if we compare the Copilot to Gemini, it did a better job in this.
Yeah, all these are still a work in progress, and I agree. It does definitely feel half baked. I mean, the good thing is that they're not forcing you to use it. If you
Yeah.
download it, it forces you to use it. But if you don't have it installed on your device, then you can stick with Google Assistant, which is what I'm doing.
And
But I
if you
wonder,
don't like it, then you go change it back.
yeah,
It's just a knucklehead like me that I keep giving it that benefit of a doubt.
do you know if they have image creation back? I know there was that debacle where they stopped letting it create images for
No, they're not letting
political reasons.
creating images is not there. I mean, you can upload your image and all of that, but
Yeah.
another thing I want to
I
say,
used that when it first came out and I liked it, and I've been trying to use it again, but they haven't brought it back yet.
maybe you are creating beautiful pictures that you shouldn't be, John. I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, they had this thing where somebody asked it to show the forefathers, the founding fathers of the USA, and it was racially incorrect. It had some black people in there, and this is because they
Oh
have
no.
yeah, so it was incorrect, and it's because they've kind of built it to be like diverse. Like if you ask it to
Yeah.
generate something, it's not going to always do white people. So it's kind of taught to be diverse, and in that situation, they got it wrong, and people threw a big fit about it, and now they've taken it down until they can make it work better. So for whatever it's worth, that's what happened.
Frankly, what you are saying makes sense, though, because in an attempt to be politically correct, or to not be offensive or whatever, we wind up with a half-baked something, because you're not getting the true response that you thought that you'll get. I mean, I've asked it questions. I mean, look at even Lookout, for example. I may say, hey, is this person in the picture male or female? And or ask something that is maybe gender related, and it will say, I'm not supposed to do that, or something to that effect. Come on, man.
Mhm.
Are we helping ourselves by doing this or not? That's the question. Frankly, yeah, I mean, some people will say, yeah, we should be this way or that way. But if you're blind and you want that detail and you're not getting it, I think we're getting cheated. The sighted person can see it and knows exactly what it is. But if we're being, politically correct, then the blind person is getting shafted here, in my, of course, never to be humble opinion.
Yeah.
First, you should tell your friends in Lookout to let the service be available in other parts of the world, and then we will look at the description accuracy.
I thought that Lookout was out everywhere, isn't it? No? Oh,
The
no,
the image
not everywhere.
description, this new detailed image description is not there. No, it is just in US, and
Oh,
I don't know, maybe a few other countries. Nothing else.
yeah.
Here we
Maybe
have the
like 12,
basic, very
12
basic
other countries.
description.
Yeah, yeah. And so another thing I wanted to mention, though, about the the button that has the microphone and the image, they are one bar. So think of it like your volume key. One tip of it is the microphone, and one tip of it is the image picker. So that's what's going on. It reminds me of the little seesaw that kids used to have in schools back then. Sit at the other tip, the other one sits at the other tip. You're bouncing up and down. That's how that button is. The only one that's separated by itself is the send button, but the image picker and the microphone are all on that same bar. They sit on the same button, but the microphone is on the left tip and the image picker is on the right tip.
Is image description working for you? It didn't work. It refused to work.
I didn't even bother to try any image description. Image whatever description. So see, I'm one of those. I'm not big into the image description thing. I know a lot of blind people are. I happen to be one of the outliers that I'm not. Image description, I don't care about. I know it sounds odd, but it's the truth. I'm not into image description. Yet in the same breath, sometimes when I use it or whatever, I like what I hear, details and things like that. But it's not something that I'm crazy about.
I've been using it more and more lately, and I really like it. It's been really helpful for me, but I use Be My Eyes now basically all the time for that sort of thing. So yeah, like you, Warren, I haven't even tried it in Gemini to see what it's like.
Yeah, but guys, you are able to use your site for some for some degree. I think, Warren, if you try to look at the screen using a magnifier or something, you will be able to get some details, right? And John, I think the same. Am I right about
Yeah,
that? So
yeah.
I think this makes a difference. Like a totally blind person will use this more because we receive images, and for us as totally blind people, this image is like nothing more than something that your screen reader say it's just an image. So when you are able to get a service that will just describe this for you, this will make a big difference. Whereas for you, if you really want to know what this image includes, you just can take a look on the screen using a magnifier or something else.
You make sense, Karen. Frankly, like I said, though, this is revolutionary for blind people because it gives you details that you didn't know before, especially if you can't even see the image to even know what color it is or, whatever it is. And some of those details that we take for granted. I am really happy that we have something like that because it now gives you that detail, and you basically the image just like a sighted person would. So frankly, that is a huge improvement and a huge development. I'm loving it. It's just that maybe, I don't know, I just never been crazy about pictures. I like taking pictures, don't get me wrong. My phone is full of pictures as we speak. My Pixel 8 Pro with my trip that I made, videos and all of that. I think I'm down to like 300 and something, gigs left on my my Pixel 1 TB, Pixel 8 Pro, and I'm gonna be backing those things up.
Oh
But
my gosh, that's a
yeah,
lot.
that's yeah, it's full.
You're going to
I
be
mean,
paying Google for cloud
yeah,
storage for
exactly.
man.
I mean, and summer's not even here. I mean, of course, we like going hiking, and I like taking pictures and videos and stuff like that. I'll be standing, beside a waterfall. Hey, look at my knucklehead! I'm standing here beside this waterfall and things. I like doing things like that. So, yeah, I
Yeah, I
can see
mentioned
how
in
that
the
is.
intro that I was selling a computer on eBay. And for the first time, I was able to do it by myself because of, Be My Eyes. I took the photos and I shared the photos and asked questions because I can see enough to know, like, okay, this is a picture I took of my laptop, right? But that's really all I could tell. But now I was able to ask questions like, is the picture blurry or clear? Is the entire laptop in the photo. I could ask questions like that and it could tell me. So, even for me who does have a little bit of vision, like it's game changing even for me, because in the past I've had to, find my wife and say, hey, I took these pictures for eBay. Do they look all right? I'm going to try to sell this thing, So the fact that I was able to do that all on my own is huge, so I can imagine for like completely blind people, it's even more of a game changer.
You're right, John, because remember when you and I were unboxing that Pixel 8 series and we're talking about that guided frame, and I recall vividly that you were talking about being, it will now be a game changer because you'll now be able to take those eBay, images that you want to sell things and stuff like that. That was one of those things, because I'm glad, you talked about that, and definitely with the Be My Eyes or Seeing AI, giving you that vivid description. Indeed, this is a game changer for us. Those of us that like to sell our own used items on, eBay and other sites like that, it's a very good idea to be able to find those details. I like it.
And actually, Be My Eyes is doing really a great job because they are using the GPT, and GPT is the best, I think, in images description. And like even the version that is used is not like it doesn't have all of those limitations that you may find with Copilot or something, or other services mainly Copilot, because it's the one that I've tried before, or the Bing chat. Previously it was the Bing chat actually. So this is making Be My AI really the best choice, I think, that is available right now. Other apps are starting to get into this. You will find this in Tech Freedom next version. You will find or you start to find this in Vision. They said that they have implemented a new AI model. They didn't say what is it, but actually I didn't test it until now. But yeah, I think that all of those services are starting to catch up. But the best, I think, is still the GPT, which is used by the Be My AI, which is really great.
Indeed, and I think that both Be My Eye or Be My AI and Seeing AI use the same thing, and it's a good idea. I like it because, like I said, it gives you that detail, and it's a game changer for those of us who are blind.